It is 4 p.m. We bring developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Friday, January 23. The Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division has deferred the arraignment of former Senator Bong Revilla and the 6 co-accused in the malversation case linked to the alleged ghost flood control project in Pandi, Bulacan. The court says the arraignment will only proceed after it resolves pending motions filed by the accused. Revilla earlier filed a petition seeking transfer from the QC jail to the PNP Custodial Center.
The Supreme Court has set oral arguments on consolidated petitions challenging the constitutionality of unprogrammed appropriations in the 2024, 2025, and 2026 budgets. The arguments are scheduled for April 8 and April 22 in the SC premises in Baguio City. Petitions include one filed by former Senator Coco Pimentel, another by Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Laila de Lima, and a third by Caloocan Congressman Egay Erice.
China's foreign ministry has summoned Philippine ambassador to Beijing Jaime Flor Cruz over Coast Guard spokesman Tarriela's remarks on the West Philippine Sea. China accused Tarriela of making misleading and baseless remarks and demanded that the Philippine government rein him in to avoid straining bilateral ties. Tarriela has yet to comment on the matter.
In the meantime, China and the Philippines launched rescue operations for a distressed cargo ship near Scarborough Shoal, which was carrying 21 Filipino crew members. According to Reuters, Chinese authorities rescued 17 crew members, 2 of whom later died, while the Philippine Coast Guard deployed vessels and aircraft to aid in their search. And there's still no public events for President Bongbong Marcos today. His son, Ilocos Norte 1st District Representative Sandro Marcos, instead led the launch of PBBM Gabay ng Bayan programs in Lawag City. The president was earlier advised by doctors to rest after being hospitalized due to diverticulitis.
Since I was young, I've been surrounded by educators. From my grandmother to my mother and now to my wife. Bear in mind, speech to ng tatay ko, hindi akin. I have seen, just making that clear, I have seen the countless sacrifices that teachers make every day. Nahihiya tuloy ako sa inyong lahat.
And joining us today, ang taong hindi nagkakaproblema pagdating sa bayan. Dahil malakas ang paninindigan. Yun. No?
Nice try. Nice try. Roland Llamas, a resident political pundit.
Happy weekend po sa lahat ng ating tigap-kinig.
Kaway-kaway naman dyan.
Di ang Chinese Embassy.
Pati ba sila nakikinig? Hindi nga.
Oh, nandito sa Red Chef. Pinapakinggan nila sa Red Chef.
Not you.
Pero ano ba
Here we go.
yung
It's a Friday.
diverticulitis?
Diverticulitis. Nadadivert yung
Ano ba sakit yun?
Nadadivert yung pagkain mo sa ibang intestine.
Ngayon ko na narinig yung sakit
Kasi
na
naman
yun.
nadadivert ang pondo, di ba? Mas paano pakinggan yun?
It's to do with the large intestine, right?
Ganun ba yan?
Di ba? I don't know.
Wala namang may medical background dito.
Bakit may...
Ikaw lang naman ang know all dito eh. Kaya
Ako
ikaw
yung know all.
tinatanong.
Ikaw yung know it all. Ako yung know all.
Ano? Ito, magsasaksakan itong dalawang to. Teka. ha?
Verticulitis.
No, this is what's called polite aggression.
Yeah.
You know, hindi naman kami physical. We're just very, you know.
Ako kasi passive-aggressive eh.
Ayun.
Kaya opposite.
You're passive? Where's the passive part?
Here we go.
Meron ba passive part? Or dire-diretso ka lang?
Ayun, pag may halo ko.
Aggressive.
At least hindi ako namamalo ng estudyante.
Ako din aggressive.
Ano ba itong dalawang to? Buti nasa gilid ako.
Diverticulitis.
What is the diverticulitis?
It's a condition where small pouches in the wall of the colon
Oh, see? It's the colon.
called the diverticula become inflamed or infected. There are tiny bulging pockets that can form the lining of the large intestine or the colon. Okay, it gets inflamed and it could become infected and yun nga, masakit.
Anong cause nun?
A number of things.
Possibly low fiber diet, chronic constipation,
Smoking, aging.
O ikaw, kumusta ka?
Can be
Cigar ako eh.
can be induced by stress as well. Diba?
Nakukos ako ng stress.
Oh yeah,
sa iba.
definitely. Di ba nga you're unjust vexator.
Yes.
There's also
Tanggap ko naman.
Tanggap mo na.
Lalo na kay Manny Mugato.
There's also obesity, smoking, lack of physical activity, and certain medications like steroids. So, the old advice, which apparently does not work, is avoiding nuts. That's why we don't mind having you around.
Daming nuts sa Pilipinas eh. Daming nuts eh. Yung iba, nagpapile pa ng impeachment cases.
yung mga hirit na yun talaga. It is a Friday, so pagbigyan niyo na.
Tinanggap na ba yung impeachment? Principal?
Nope. Wala pa.
Wala pa rin? Absent pa rin yung kwan?
She's
Yung SecGen?
she's in Taiwan to accept an award
So wala siyang...
conferred by the Taiwanese government. It's actually a pretty
dati siyang-
high-level award.
Dati siyang MECO eh. Dati
Cordon.
siyang head ng MECO.
Correct. Dati siyang head ng MECO.
So wala naman siyang diverticulitis.
Oh, clearly, wala naman because she's there.
Na-divert sa Taipei.
Corny.
This show has taught me a lot of patience, is all I can say. A lot of patience.
At any rate, the session day count only begins on the 26th.
You know what's interesting though? Last night we were talking to Congresswoman Jervil Luistro because she is the chair of the Justice Committee of the House. And of course, sa kanila ma-refer yung complaint eventually. And she said, so we were trying to understand, okay, these two complaints, are they deemed filed? Are they not? Who has that say? And if wala yung section, I'm sure there's some protocol in place to ensure that the documents still get officially received, right? She said, no, it's all on the SecGen's discretion. Nasa office daw ng SecGen. I don't know if that's true, but she says, that's what she said.
So you mean the SecGen can say na hindi pa yun received kasi wala ako dyan?
Correct. But
Pero
even then,
yun yung binabanata ng mga nag-file.
oh,
Yung mga DDS na hindi naman daw sila DDS.
oh,
Nag-file sila. Sabi nila, ministerial lang naman yung power ng SecGen.
that's, yes,
Yun ang
yes,
sinasabi.
correct.
Bakit naiipit ang aming final? Dahil dyan sa SecGen, na ministerial lang naman ang power.
And secondly, I'm sure this is not the first instance wherein wala yung SecGen, she's not around, he or she is not around to receive an official document, right? So ano yung protocol in place? That's what I'm more interested in. Kung hindi siya mismo tatanggap, I'm sure she can deputize somebody, right? I don't know, but according to Congresswoman Luis Chocagabe, the SecGen's office does have a lot of leeway when it comes to deciding on the rules for documents, for official documents, right?
Doon nga sa impeachment ni Sara na nireject ng Supreme Court, di ba? Kasama dun sa sagot ng House, motion for reconsideration, dahil dinidiin ng Supreme Court yung lapses ng Secretary General dun sa timing. Ang sinasabi ng House dun sa kanilang motion for reconsideration, una, umabot naman sa deadline. Pero ikalawa, yung SecGen na sinisisi is just an employee ng House. He doesn't represent the House, which strengthens the ministerial argument na ministerial lang yung kanyang power. Hindi dapat siya kwan. No?
Rule 2 ng House Impeachment Rules, this was passed in the 15th Congress, Section 3, verified complaint for impeachment by a member of the House or by any citizen upon endorsement by any member thereof shall be filed with the office of the Secretary General and immediately referred to the Speaker. So it's with the office of the SecGen and immediately referred to the Speaker.
Yeah, I get it. So the point is, if the SecGen himself or herself is not around, somebody else should have been deputized to receive it officially,
and
because it's
transfer it
the
to the
office.
Speaker.
Oh, it's not the person; it's the office.
Parang ang importance kasi niya ay siya yung magbibigay sa Speaker.
Mag-transmit.
Correct.
Diba?
Yeah, that's
Yun yung
the role.
importance.
That's the role of the office of the SecGen here. So I don't know.
Yeah, you can tell the difference in the wording. It refers to the office of the SecGen and then immediately referred to the Speaker, not to the office of the Speaker.
Oh, and also not to the SecGen himself or herself, right? It's office of the SecGen. So I don't know. So it raises another question. I mean, the third complaint that was filed. Do they have merit in saying that they the office of the SecGen usurped their constitutional authority by not accepting the complaint? Right? Just because wala si SecGen Garafil.
But in the end, it's going to be a lot of needless arguing,
Wrangling.
stress over
Ilang araw lang naman.
over something that at this point is still inconsequential. Kasi nga day one starts only in 26 when you count the 10 session days.
Pero alam mo naman,
Parang asaran.
hindi, saka lahat yan, pipigain yan for whatever political capital yung magagamit yan. Dahil nga, very polarized yung ating political landscape
Sadly,
ngayon.
yes. Sadly. So any moves is,
Parang kanya West Philippine Sea.
is the slightest move is cast under a very harsh spotlight.
May kanya-kanyang spin na yan.
Sa Constitution, sa Article 11, does not even mention the Secretary General. It just goes straight into
Justice Committee.
Speaker. May be filed by any member of the House of Reps or by any citizen upon resolution or endorsement by any member of or thereof, which shall be included in the order of business within 10 session days. It doesn't even mention either the Speaker or the
Justice
Secretary General's
Committee.
office. But it should be included in the OB in 10 session days, then referred to the proper committee in 3 session days thereafter.
In other news, the United States has officially withdrawn from the World Health Organization. That is after a year. They warned about it this last year, and now it's official because, of course, in any of these multilateral organizations, you have to give a 1 year's. Usually, it's 1 year's notice. So now they officially have done so, but they still owe the WHO $260 million in fees.
Hindi mo kabayad sila.
This was yung notice was, I mean, of course they can. The question is whether they will, considering that President Trump clearly doesn't believe in all these multilateral organizations, and that's why on the first day of his presidency last year in 2025, nag-issue na siya ng EO announcing their plan to exit the WHO.
Hindi lang WHO, ang dami nilang
Marami na,
international organizations ang inalisan.
Correct. I mean,
At medyo
ICC
medyo
as well.
may binubuo silang parang semi-UN.
Board of Peace.
Board of Peace.
Which, by the way, interestingly enough, Indonesia signed up for. So I don't know if this is going to be another divisive issue within the ASEAN bloc na sumali Indonesia and in the so-called Board of Peace, which is dominated by countries like Russia and sino pa ba yung nag-sign up? I can't remember.
Pero these economies kasi lumalaro naman sa all sides. Limawa, kasama sila sa BRICS. Diba? Na
But that's an economic trade group. That's not a political trade group.
Yes,
That's
pero
not
may-
political group.
Yeah, pero may mga
Board of Peace is clearly one.
diplomatic.
Yeah, diplomatic and political group.
Diplomatic yan. Pero ayun nga, may mga overlaps naman kasi yan. Diba? Paano? Ang UN din naman, malaki rin yung economic component yan. Diba? Kaya, yan, lumalaro sila. Lumalaro sila. For a while nga, yung BRICS, sinasabi, hindi na gagamitin yung dollar.
Matagal na yun. That's
Pero
been a
hindi naman-
discussion
pero-
for a long time.
Pero hindi naman natutuloy.
You know, it might. It might. Now that people are calling for the end of the Pax Americana,
Yes.
according to Richard, that's also what he's picking up over in Europe. He's in Oxford, diba? He's saying people are calling for the end of Pax Americana. And now we're seeing a change in the world order. Who knows? Could be a different reserve currency from here on.
But it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Makakakita ka ng mga build-up papunta dyan makakita ka ng mga signs, indications kung papunta ba talaga dyan.
Yeah. So, WHO, the US will only work with the WHO in a limited fashion now from here on.
Isa siya,
And we have no plans of participating as an observer either, according to a senior US government
ang
official.
biggest funder yan, di ba?
Exactly. So this has thrown into question a lot of these programs, just like USAID, right? When they shut it down,
Yeah.
it threw a lot of these countries into a bind kasi they fund a lot of these programs on the ground,
UN.
particularly in Africa.
Ang UN, sila pa rin ang pinakamalaki dyan. Pero hindi naman nila totally tinanggal. Pero dramatically binawasan nila yung funding ng UN from the US.
Okay, Bok, let's bring in our first guest for today.
Okay, we're talking to Commodore J. Tarriela, the Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea. First up, good afternoon, Commodore Tarriela. Can you hear me okay?
Hello po, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Good afternoon, Commodore.
Good afternoon, Sir Ronald.
Okay, yeah.
So obviously we're talking to you about this growing
Tensions.
brickbat over your presentation at the school a few weeks ago, and it's gotten to a point where Philippine ambassador to China, Ambassador Jimmy Flor Cruz, has been summoned by the Chinese government to explain that. What do you make of it, Commodore?
Well, para sa akin,
It's a bit-
since it concerns me personally, I would
can't
like
hear.
to respond to it. Hello?
Yes, we can
Commodore,
hear you.
Medyo mahina.
Okay, sir, let's try it first for a few lines, see if it's clear. You were saying, sir?
Yes, for me, it proves that our transparency efforts in exposing Chinese aggression is actually working. And it also shows that China is more afraid on making the world know about their real behavior at sea, especially in South China Sea, more than that of the international law. Para sa akin, if they really want to reverse the negative impact na sinasabi nila that I cause, the best way for them to reverse that is to start adhering to the 2016 Arbitral Award and to stop the harassment of ordinary Filipino fishermen.
But Commodore, in this particular instance, doesn't have anything to do with the Transparency Initiative. This has to do with the presentation that you made at a school recently that apparently showed Chinese President Xi Jinping and turned him into a meme, which China protested vehemently. And now they've summoned Ambassador Flor Cruz, and they've also lodged a serious protest over this.
Do you actually believe that that is the primary reason why they are complaining about me as the spokesperson? A few days, even before I had the chance to deliver the PowerPoint presentation sa PNIL, I'm already receiving comments from the Chinese embassy every time I publicize a particular incident. So this complaint about the caricature of Xi Jinping, this is not the main reason why they're doing this. They just wanted to silence the transparency, and they don't want us to expose their aggression anymore.
Sir, I don't think anybody here wants to go into a discussion on whether or not you had the right arguments on the West Philippine Sea. I think it has more to do with was it necessary to go to the extent of making a caricature or a meme of a foreign leader, especially since you are a public official. The criticism, for example, of other people is that if a Chinese official
Did that to
does
the
the same
president.
thing about BBM, then we'd also be in the it also would be reasonable for us to also complain and file a protest, regardless of whether the arguments work or not. It's how po the presentation was made. Yun po yung argumento ng iba.
Yes. Again, the caricature, para sa akin, ilang caricature na rin ba ang ginawa ng state media ng Chinese government, against the Japanese Prime Minister, against the U.S. President Donald Trump, and even with President Bongbong Marcos, ilang beses na rin nagkomento sila against the president, particularly their state media. So, again, even if we're going to say that I'm just exercising freedom of expression and all, it's not the main issue. Para sa akin, they're just making a reason para to blame me for whatever and to discredit ang effort natin exposing their aggression.
In short, you don't think you did anything wrong by turning President Xi Jinping into a meme?
First of all, we need to understand, no? Eto ba talagang caricature na to would really compensate in the harassment that they're doing against the Filipino fishermen? Is it really too much for us to do it kumpara sa pambababoy ng Chinese government sa ating mga Coast Guard, sa ating Armed Forces of the Philippines, and even to the ordinary Filipino fishermen? Is it too much for us to do that compared with the harassment that they're doing?
Commodore, alinawin ko lang, no? Itong pinesent nyo na caricature, ito ba ay galing sa inyo o parang kino-quote nyo lang yung ibang gumawa nito? Kayo ba ang may first touch dito? Or parang kinuha nyo yan as part of your presentation?
Well, I got that from some people, no? But again, that's actually a caricature that has different meaning, no?
Sir? Sorry, sir?
Hello?
Yes, sir. You were saying, sir?
Yeah, sorry, we keep
Yes,
losing you.
for each caricature, it has different meanings. Hindi siya ginawa lang para babuhin ang mukha ni Xi Jinping. That's actually a satirical, figurative, no? Nung mga argument na why China remains to be bully. For each feature, it has different meaning.
Actually, Commodore, nung nabanggit nyo kasi na ginawa rin ito ng China sa atin. Nung ginawa ba nila sa atin ito, halimbawa, nung tinawag nilang stupid, si BBM, etc., ay pinatawag din ba ng ating foreign affairs yung ambassador nila?
Well, I cannot recall, Sir Ronald, no? But definitely hindi tayo naging ganitong kaiyakin.
Okay. The other thing that we wanted to check in with you about, Commodore, is yung the Chinese Coast Guard said that they had rescued some fishermen from a cargo ship that capsized near the South Scarborough Shoal. Reuters has already gotten confirmation on this, but can we also hear from you about this incident? 17 crew members were
Yes.
rescued by the CCG, they said.
And two of them
Later
Yes,
died.
I would like to confirm, no, that the Chinese Coast Guard really did the humanitarian operation of rescuing the Filipino crew off the coast of Zambales. It was a distance of 150 nautical miles. And again, we need to thank them for doing that. But para sa akin, no, dun sa statement kasi na ginawa ng Chinese embassy, say yung using Wang Yandao as a reference, sabi nila, it is near our Wang Yandao, something like that, no? Parang 55 nautical miles northwest of China's Wang Yandao, right? But they are actually referring Bajo de Masinloc.
So you confirm
So
that... Go ahead,
we
Commodore.
need to thank them for conducting search and rescue and rescuing the Filipino fishermen. But we need to respond by saying na Wang Yandao, which is Bajo de Masinloc, does not belong to the People's Republic of China.
So you're confirming that there were 17 crew members that were rescued and 2 later died, and these were all Filipino. We also understand that the PCG itself deployed assets to the area. Tell us how that went. Sino ba nauna doon?
Well, the Philippine Coast Guard also deployed our assets. But of course, dahil mas malalaki ang Coast Guard vessels ng China Coast Guard, and they have been there present already. At ang mga barko natin manggagaling pa sa Port of Manila for example, the 97-meter that we also deployed. On our way, before we even reach dun sa location of the incident, they already confirmed that they have already rescued the Filipino fishermen. Para sa akin, there's nothing wrong with that. We would like to thank them for conducting a search and rescue, this humanitarian mission, and saving Filipino crew. But again, I just want to correct the statement that Wang Yandao is not owned by China. It falls within our own exclusive economic zone kung saan nangyari yung incidente.
Sir, kasi kami, we're lay people. We have little idea of the scale of distances in the sea. When you pointed out that it's 55
Kilometers
was it nautical
northwest.
miles from Scarborough Shoal, what were you trying to say? That it's not exactly near Scarborough Shoal, ganun ho ba?
Ang distance niya talaga is 55 nautical miles northwest of Scarborough Shoal. Ibig sabihin, 55 nautical miles away siya mula sa taas ng Scarborough Shoal. So, kung susukatin natin sa coastline natin yan, siguro that's roughly 150 to 160 nautical miles off the coast of Zambales.
Okay.
Ibig sabihin, pasok na pasok ito sa ating exclusive economic zone.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. So what happens next? After they've rescued them, they're going to be turned over to Philippine authorities.
Well, that is the intention, no? These Filipino fishermen will be turned over to the Philippine authorities, and of course, again, I would like to thank the China Coast Guard for rescuing our Filipino crew.
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave that there. That went by very fast, but thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. PCG spokesman
Thank you, sir.
for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tarriela. Salamat, sir.
Salamat, Commodore.
Maraming salamat.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit.
And joining us this Friday afternoon are Attorney Ferdinand Hernandez, the head of the Philippine delegation to the 2026 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, and Ambassador to the World Trade Organization, Don D.T. Hanky. Gentlemen, welcome to Storycon and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Magandang hapon. Good morning in Geneva.
Good morning.
Ay, in Davos.
Hapon.
Davos.
Good afternoon, sir.
Magandang hapon to to the televiewers. Magandang hapon, Regina, Ed, and of course, Ronald. Magandang hapon sa inyo.
Magandang hapon.
Sir, I'm talking to Congressman Attorney Hernandez. Can I just verify, first of all, that you are still a congressman, right? In the 20th Congress?
Yes, I'm now the Senior Deputy Speaker.
Yes, he's
Oh,
the head of
okay.
our delegation, Senior Deputy Speaker.
Congratulations.
Ferdinand
When were
Hernandez.
you promoted to SDS?
Again,
Congratulations. When were you promoted to SDS?
I think last year. Late last
Late
year.
last year. Oh my. Kasi there was some shuffling at the top,
20th
diba?
Congress, nagsimula na last year.
No, I know. Pero they changed some speaker, some SDS, right?
Long
And-
time no see, Congressman.
Yes, Ronald, nice to see you.
Yeah.
I've been watching you. And from, alam mo, masyado kang popular eh.
Nako,
So
yan.
I always listen and watch you.
Baka
In
more,
demand ka ngayon.
more unpopular, Kong.
Siya po yung aming international man of mystery from Manila.
Kamusta dyan, Kong, Mr. T. Hanky, no? Ano ba yung tingin ng mga
Teka lang.
mga international delegates dyan, tsaka mga businessmen sa Pilipinas? Dahil nagsalita ako 2 days ago sa isang malaking business corporation dito na puro mga foreign investors. Medyo very worry sila sa nangyayari sa atin, lalo na itong latest impeachment cases. No? Maliban pa dito sa unprecedented corruption scandal. Ano bang tingin ng mga nandyan sa ating bansa ngayon?
Well, unang-una, I'd like to congratulate Ambassador Don D.T. Hanky and the team, no, for a tremendous success in this first ever Philippine Investment Pavilion. And I can feel the interest, I can feel the vibe that, they were probably surprised to see that the Philippines finally put up a pavilion for the first time. And this is a collaboration between government institutions and, of course, the private sector. And I've seen a lot of interest. I was here more than, siguro, last day today, no? Pack-up day today. And I can see that it was successful and a lot of interest were shown during this from Monday till yesterday. So I think Dondi will be able to discuss in details other interest and the success of this first ever Philippine Investment Pavilion.
Yes, of course, we're very excited and we're very glad. This is the first ever country pavilion at Davos, and we heard a lot of visitors, CEOs, the investment community in Davos congratulate us on a very substantive and active presence here in Davos. As you know, President Trump, 70 heads of state were here, and we had a strong message from President Marcos that indeed we are committed and open for business. What makes the pavilion very different is the strength of the public-private participation. We had emerging Filipino companies. Hotel 101 Double Dragon gave a very impressive panel session. We had takeaways from signings and MOU with the SSS and also with SSS and also with BCDA. The BCDA we had a visitor from Aqua Power of Saudi Arabia. They spoke very highly of the investment potential of the Philippines. And coming from our foreign investor partners, they were the ones who spoke here in the pavilion about that investment is a long-term relationship. We had a very strong program of conversations that put the Philippines at the center stage here in Davos. A highlight was the participation and inaugural high-level panel by Dr. Nongozi Okonjo-Iweala and the Nobel laureate on economics Michael Spence. We even got an exclusive from Michael Spence on his opinions on Greenland, which was quite an exclusive for the Philippines. The other exclusive that was in the Philippine Pavilion was the launch of the updated 2026 McKinsey & Company Country Report, exclusively launched here and will be available by next week. So we are really proud and thankful to Deputy Speaker Dinand for being with us and showing to the business and investment community here that the Philippines is indeed open for investment. Maraming salamat.
Siguro, I might add to the question of Ronald earlier. You might be surprised. I mean, I've been here on the second day until the last day. I've met ministers, CEOs. They never asked about the political climate in the Philippines. They never asked about the impeachment. They never asked about the scandal. And I think they're more enthusiastic in looking at business opportunities in the country. And medyo na-surprise ako kasi every time I'm introduced, I'm the Senior Deputy Speaker and I have with me Ambassador Dondi and the Maharlika Wealth Fund. You know, it's so automatic. They'll say, oh, we're interested in that wealth fund and we have money to invest. So parang it's a sense of when you put money in the wealth fund of Maharlika, it's sort of my security blanket that our money will be protected. So they never talk about it, politics.
Actually, I have to acknowledge that the Prime Minister of Mongolia, his Secretary of Finance, graced the pavilion. So we will be sending photos. And then the Prime Minister also of South Africa came here. And then, of course, the head of McKinsey came to launch the report. We will send an update and report through our head of delegation on the important visitors that graced and really visited us. We are really grateful to the Davos community.
Well,
That's great to hear, Ambassador at saka Deputy Speaker, no? Pero kung mahalaga rin kasi na marami dyan sa mga possible investors natin, papadala yan ng team dito diba? Ng advanced team para tignan yung landscape at saka gumawa ng feasibility study. Usually doon bumabara No, halimbawa, this past few months, kausap ko mismo yung heads ng ECOP at saka ng different chambers of commerce. Medyo nagwo-worry sila dahil hindi lamang walang pumapasok na investor, meron pang mga lumalabas. So, ang kwan kasi nila, dapat as soon as possible, itong mga tensions ngayon sa ating political landscape ay maayos para maayos din itong usapin ng ating mga investments, no? Marami kasi magpapadala ng team, tapos makikita nila medyo magulo, medyo maghihintay sila. They will wait it out hanggang ano yung mangyari. Dahil ayaw nilang i-risk yung pera nila kung merong political instability no, sa ating bansa. Yung mga negosyante yan they want to earn money. No?
I think that's very true. Of course, but the ones who came to see us, quite a few of the CEOs came and said, oh, we're happy to see the Philippines here. We're already doing business there in this scale. We want to scale up. And of course, the others are really aware. Of course, we did not try to sugarcoat too much that there are licenses, permits, many things to do. And that was also the topic of conversation. So in 2023, when President Marcos came into Davos, they announced the launch of the Maharlika Fund bill. And in 25, when the Secretary of Finance came last year, we announced the incentives under Create More. And of course, we invite the CEOs here to give us their constructive criticism. And of course, they always point to faster decision-making, less red tape. And I guess that is why they always want to speak to legislators, cabinet ministers who are here, so that actually, that's one of the points of Davos is dialogue. That way we can dialogue with them on constructive criticism, like you said.
Well, yun nga, sir, just to add to Ronald's point kanina, it's good that finally we have a pavilion in the WEF, but you might also say it's a peculiar time. It's the best of times and the worst of times. The worst of times because we're going through so many crises,
yeah.
and the times are still set to become more interesting kasi the impeachment cases have been filed, but you expect more to be filed against the VP as well, and then gugulong pa yan. So medyo magiging mas masalimuot pa yan. Now, it may also be what you might call the best of times because it's the best time for us to address these issues ngayon pa lang.
Because a crisis is also an opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
Tama. I really agree because the businessmen want to take advantage of opportunities. So, if the market prices are low, this is the best time. Kasi business, actually, one of the very interesting things that came out in our high-level panel, and of course, just to let you know, Indonesia President Prabowo was here. Our pavilion, so many Filipinos in the diaspora who have companies in the US and Europe. Actually, we were visited by many companies with Filipino executives, including Bain and Company. Maraming Filipinos, they were so happy to see the pavilion. So our neighbors were South Africa, there is the Ukraine house, Brazil house, across us is Poland house and Indonesia. So actually it was quite an exciting week and they were very happy we had a presence. So one of the high-level discussions was you have to turn crisis into opportunity. And even they spoke even to resilience and relevance. Congressman Brian Poe spoke on AI and youth. And then we had a panel on, of course, Apple the App, our cultural ambassador, was quite a hit in Davos. The house was full last night with this ending night special party. And Black Eyed Peas, Will I Am, J. Ray Soul, and Apple the App, of course, were all in the pavilion. So they spoke of the kindness of the Filipino people, and they kept on saying mabuhay at salamat. So I think, as they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So I don't think there's any, when it comes to business and country development, our loyalty is to boost the Philippines all the way.
Well, let me add, I know there are a lot of political noise at this time. As you mentioned, that we don't know whether it is the best or the worst time in promoting. But for us here, we have to be very, very, very optimistic because, it is something that we have to do to benefit the country. And hindi naman isolated yung what's happening in the Philippines because even here, you've probably seen the rhetorics of Canada, Germany, and Trump. And they're also talking about there's no such thing as a world order now. It's more of uncertainties, fragmented economy. But again, the ending is that they also need pragmatic leaders that will be able to address to uncertain situations, and even the economy has to be calibrated to adjust to uncertainty. So same with us. There's political noise. I think the administration, the president is aware of all this noise and trying to address this and making sure that we move on. The economy will move on because we're talking about what would benefit the entire country.
Yeah.
We also had to highlight that the Davos World Economic Forum is not only about making money, that it's really, the theme this year is spirit of dialogue, given all the geopolitical tensions.
Yeah.
And that is what it offers here. At the same time, as the President said, it's very in line with the ASEAN chairship theme of navigating the future together. So as we navigate the future together as ASEAN, as we navigate the future and dialogue together with the world, sana sa Pilipinas, we are also going to collaborate together despite all our political
Yeah.
divisions for the country, because that's the only way, solidarity and
Yeah.
unity.
Although geopolitics and Greenland and President Trump took the spotlight this year, one of the overarching topics there was actually AI, artificial intelligence. Did you gentlemen get a better sense of where we are in the AI revolution and what needs to be done in order to stay competitive in this space? And what message are you going to be bringing to President Marcos about that?
Hindi ba tayo may iwan? Hindi ba tayo may iwan ng mga developments sa AI?
Ang galing, we had we had 9 panels, and they're all available at philippines@wef.org. They're amazing panels. We were complimented by all the other communities and other pavilions. We had an AI and FinTech panel on day 1, and Congressman Brian Po spoke on AI and youth education. And even DG Dr. Ngozi spoke on the comparative advantage of the Philippines, being we are already ahead in the BPO industry. So it was spoken all over Davos that AI can be a tool. Even Michael Spence was saying we cannot be over-enthusiastic and over-fearing AI. It's a tool that we need to upskill and continue to train our BPO community in order to preserve jobs. But it was the topic indeed all throughout the week.
Anong
And
nasa
I invite
Cebu?
our viewers to please follow at PH@WEF. All the panel sessions are there.
Siguro,
Ambassador,
one interesting, I was walking around this area and I saw, lahat naman the government and civil society are here when everybody is so concerned about digital transformation. And there are other civic groups that are also worried of the effect of the AI, no? And actually, maganda nga yung nakita ko, there's a parang slogan, we're not just losing time to screens. We are losing what it means to be human. And they call it human change.
So, ang galing sa Davos, because all perspectives are being discussed from overly optimistic, medium to negative. Diba? So, it's really a dialogue, and the businessmen are not all about profit because long-term. No? So, they're discussing the impact of
kapag
AI.
nyo, Ambassador, yung AI, no? I was in Cebu 2 days ago. At tinatanggap nila na yung growth corridor, yung growth yung medyo positive yung growth ay yung BPO sector natin. Hindi lang sa Cebu, kundi sa buong Pilipinas. Pero nagwo-worry din sila dahil sa bilis ng AI, madi-displace yung kanilang mga workers. Papalitan na ng AI yung kanilang mga workers. At mukhang wala pang sistema on how to mitigate that, at least at this point. No? Kaya nagwo-worry sila na kailangan habulin yan. At kailangan silang tulungan, hindi lamang ng private sector, kung hindi ng gobyerno. Ikalawang tanong, nabanggit nyo, Ambassador, tsaka Deputy Speaker, yung Maharlika Fund. Medyo hindi malinaw na sa amin kung ano na yung status ng Maharlika Fund. Paano, ika-4th year na tayo ng term ni Presidente. At maraming mga na-build up na expectations sa Maharlika. Pero hanggang ngayon, hindi malinaw sa amin kung ano na ba yung status ng Maharlika? Saan na ba papunta ito?
The Maharlika Fund was one of our anchor panels here, and they briefed that, of course, during the first 2 years, it was a lot of administrative and clearance hurdles, plus setting up the management. But now they were in talks. Of course, they have NDAs, but they were in talks with their partners, and they have already launched 3 or 4 done deals.
They have made investments.
Yes, they have made investments, and because a wealth fund is the balance sheet of our nation. Because the budget, as we know, is like an income statement. Every year, you use it or lose it. But the Maharlika Wealth Fund, it doesn't have... Danantara of Indonesia visited us. They talked with Maharlika. Other wealth funds were talking to our Maharlika. Meaning it's a partnership on how to build wealth for the country. So it doesn't have... of course, the other wealth we have the Social Security System and GSIS and other government corporations. But we have to know that Maharlika is ours. It will represent the wealth of the Philippines as it improves its balance sheet. So I will definitely get an update report from Maharlika. We always update the Davos community on their latest deals.
Okay. And Speaker Hernandez, did you want to comment on Ronald's first question
First,
about AI and
Can you
the
repeat?
BPO industry?
AI.
Yeah, I think as I was saying, I don't think we'll be behind. In fact, we keep updating, and we want to make sure that we are in the game, no? But at the same time, tama yun, may pros and cons. And the trend now is really digital transformation, and the government has to do something about the human cost of this development. Definitely, it will affect some industries, and especially the labor or the workforce. No,
Yeah.
and again, this is something new, and this is something that we have to prepare.
Yeah.
And we cannot just say we
Yeah.
will just let this happen. So dahil nangyayari na yan, it's a concern now. Then I think it has to be addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two takeaways on AI that I can report on.
Just very
One
quickly,
is,
Ambassador.
One, Congressman Brian Poe said that the AI strategy of the Philippines is being formulated now. So we really have to formulate a strategy. So the Philippines has to be strategic on AI. The other big takeaway I gathered from the panel session here, one of the panelist experts said, robots will not take away the jobs of the BPO community. However, another employee with AI tools knowledge and skills may take away his or her job. So that's the key. We have to keep on upskilling our people so that they can use AI tools, because the only one that will take their job is not a robot. It will be another human using AI tools.
Absolutely. But we're going to have to leave that there because we've run out of time. But thank you so much for talking to us today, gentlemen. That was a Senior Deputy Speaker Ferdinand Hernandez, head of the Philippine delegation to the 2026 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, and Philippine Ambassador to the World Trade Organization, Ambassador Dondi Tihangi. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Salamat, Ambassador, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon.
Safe travels back. Okay, thank you so much for joining Storycon today. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we had. Thank you to Ronald Llamas, a resident political pundit. Join us again on Monday at 4 p.m. Once more for Storycon, I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.